I'm Justin Davis, and this is Runcam's RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. I'm Justin Davis. First thing I want to talk about today is Texas. I have to say my deepest sympathies go out to the people of Texas. The entire state is in a national state of emergency right now with Hurricane Harvey. And I'm from a coastal region, so I have to say I understand what's going on there. Sadly to say, I understand that it's a dire situation. There's a lot of people that need help. So hopefully they're getting a lot of help on the local, state, and federal government assistance for that disaster. It's one of the biggest disasters we've seen in the United States in the past 100 years probably. So it's a really big problem. So if you could go over to the Salvation Army website, they're actually taking donations right now on salvationarmy.com. So check them out. I always try to donate. During Katrina, I did a donation as well. So today, let's go ahead and get right down to it. We're talking about Runcam. Runcam has released 2 new products, and I have the TX25 here and the Micro Swift version 2. I'm super excited about that because I'm upgrading all of my brushless micros to have this camera on there. I'm no longer using or wanting to use these little tiny AIO cameras. These have been great for the last couple years, but these are just not the greatest resolution. They always look kind of fuzzy. They do have some integrated OSD on some of them, but not all of them. Nice because they're very compact, and they're still even more compact and lighter than the Runcam version 2. But this is like night and day for a brushless micro, or even your large size quad like the ones hanging up there. You can put this version 2 on those quads with a 3D printed mount, so you can virtually eliminate a lot of weight off of any type of frame quad racer. So this is going to be a great upgrade for a lot of my brushless micros and for my full-size racers. This TX25 also is a piggyback style mount. Let's see if I can figure out which box this is in. This goes right behind the Runcam, or you can mount it just above your flight controller. It does have a little antenna coming off of it, and it has some cables already to get hooked up to your Runcam. So pretty sweet. You've got a power source on here, and you have the signal 5-volt and ground there coming off, and you already have all the JST connectors on there, so that's pretty nice. So let's go ahead now and we'll give you a closer look at the Runcam Swift Micro version 2, and then we'll go outside and do some flight tests with it, and I'll show you guys how good that camera actually is in comparison to an older style all-in-one camera like this one. This is the little VM2751 version 1.0. Okay, let's go ahead and start first with the Micro Swift version 2 box. It's a little longer than the original Micro Swift because they include this little cable here. This is a little programming cable that will plug in to this little port right here, and these 2 little wires come off the back of this harness. Very simply, just kind of maybe hot glue it to the side of your frame so it stays in one spot, so you can access it easily out at the field to make changes. Now what's really cool about this is that it does have presets in there, so you can do 2 personal presets, or you can do a variety of other built-in presets, and it has a pretty wide voltage range, so you could run this from 5 to 36 volts, which is awesome. It means you could run this directly off of a 4S power supply and you wouldn't fry this camera, so it takes a ton of voltage. Also on the low end of that, you can plug it into a 5-volt port on your flight controller, and you can power this camera off 5-volt. That's also really awesome. It also has a 2.1mm lens. That hasn't changed since the original Micro Swift, so that's the same. But let's go ahead and open the box, and I'll show you what's left in here. You get this little piece of paper here, and it says 1 touch screen setting, integrated OSD, and low voltage alarm. This is just your quick start guide with a lot of the specs on here. PAL and NTSC supported. It has a Sony 1/3 Super HAD 2 CCD image sensor on there, super cool. You also have 5.6 grams for the weight, so very tiny. And with brushless, micro brushless, every single gram counts. So the lighter I can get my airframe and total takeoff weight, the better power to weight ratio I'm going to get from the motors. And I've got 1105s on this, so this performs super fast with this power system, and being able to see through the branches and see those ghost branches coming is a major thing with this camera. So I can see really tiny gaps, and I got lucky quite a few times using this camera versus this older style camera. Everything underneath the trees just ends up looking like a black blob. So I'm not really into these cameras anymore. They just look a little bit fuzzy and outdated. So it's like a night and day difference using this new Runcam Swift and even the version 2 that they just released. But 5 to 6 36 volts is actually really nice. The dimensions of this is 19 by 19 by 19 millimeters, and what's cool about this is the leader 120 right here, and I put this one in between this frame, and I didn't have to stretch it out at all for it to fit in there. So there's a little mounting spot on the very top right there. If you have a leader 120, do this upgrade, you absolutely love this. There's also a spot down bottom right here where the original camera was mounted, but I raised it up one spot, and it does stick up just above the frame a little bit, but I could do a little bit of a roll bar over top of it to protect it a little more in a crash. But I usually fly over a lot of grass and stuff, so it's really not a big deal. And also in these specs, we have the one-touch screen settings are personal, light tracks, outdoor, indoor, cloudy, and twilight. And you also have WDR on here. It's WDR, and that's going to help you have a little more contrast and a better color in the image quality on the camera. So let's go ahead and plug it in now, and I'll show you what the OSD looks like and how to get into the menus. After that, we'll go out and do some flying. Okay, so now the camera's plugged in, and I have this little joystick right here. I can go into the menus. You want to make sure you have it facing the right way. It faces like this, up, down, left, and right here. And if you press down on it, it'll actually bring up the main menu, and it'll bring you into your personal menu settings. So this will apply to your personal setting for your different presets. So exposure, we have backlight, white balance. You can do a variety of different white balances here. I'm just going to leave it set to default at ATW1. Day and night settings, color, black and white, EXT, and auto. I'm going to leave that on auto, and most times it stays in the color scene. Unless you get into like a pitch black room, it'll switch to black and white. Image adjustments, you can go in here and change quite a few things in here. Font color, all that good stuff. And we can go DPC, we can change the language, English to Chinese. We can go reset back to factory defaults, which is cool. But here's where it gets interesting. Let's go ahead and go back to the main menu, and you see the voltage here for your battery, my pilot name there, and how long the quad's been on. You can move this stuff around on the screen, but you can also adjust your voltage, which is cool because a lot of times when you turn on your battery, after you use a battery checker, you realize that the battery to the quad is not correct. So the way you alleviate that is press to the left here, and you'll see this number start flashing, and then you can go up and down, and you can adjust it right here in the menu, which is really nice. But that's the current battery voltage right now, so I'm going to leave that there. Also, if you press up, that'll take you into this menu here, and you can go and change your pilot name here just by scrolling around in the alphabet. Press down to make a selection, or you can go here and clear the whole thing and start over again. Now also down below this menu, from the pilot name for your aircraft, you can go to alarm, and you can change that alarm setting up and down if you wish, depending on what size battery you're running. And down here we have the scene that we're on. You can change back and forth from the scenes, and this will kind of give you an idea of the different settings. We are indoors, but you can see the background kind of changing as I scroll through these settings for you. And I'm going to leave it set to personal because that's what I've adjusted in my image and brightness contrast menus. The system here, we can change that to on to off position. We can also change the position of that. The pilot name you can change on and off. The timer, which is great for me, and that's down on the bottom right. I'm going to leave that on. And for the voltage, I'm also going to leave that on. Horizontal, horizon right here, that's a horizontal stabilizer thing you sort of see in the middle there of the screen, but I like to leave that off because I think it's kind of distracting. If you want to turn it off or on, you just click on it once and it'll turn on. You can move the position around on the screen also, but like I said, I'm going to leave that off. And that's pretty much it for the inside menu here for the personal settings. And up at the very top, you see personal right there. That's the current preset that I'm set to, and I'm set to NTSC there. My time code down here, but I'm going to go ahead and push right, and that's going to help me scroll through my presets. So pretty easy to scroll through the presets. If it's cloudy during the day, when you go out to fly, you can change it from indoor to even there's a cloudy setting, which is great for Pacific Northwest. Most of you guys who are flying in the fall and winter, it gets pretty dark out, so it's kind of nice. You can see my personal settings actually a little darker right now, mainly because it's summertime and it's super bright out. That's about it for the settings. For the Swift 2, let's go ahead and take a look at that VTX real quick that they have, and then we'll go outside and do some flying. Now this is the box you get for the VTX. It's the same exact size as the Micro Swift version 2 box, and it shows you a little bit of information on here. It shows you that this is powered up to 25 milliwatts, so not switchable to 200. I would like to see that a future version of this would be able to be switchable maybe between 25, 100, and 200. Because a lot of people on micros want 200 milliwatt these days. At the minimum, 100. 25 gets to be a little bit fuzzy after a football field or so, in my experience. But this one's also running on 3.5 to 5.5 volts. So don't power this off of anything more than 5.5 volts. Unlike the Micro Swift 2 camera, this is going to fry anything over 5.5. So TX25 obviously is 25 milliwatt, and we have 6 different bands on here: A, B, E, airwave, race band, and low race frequencies on here, bands on here, and we have up to 8 different channels on each band, so quite a large channel range on here. So I have a battery plugged in here. I'm going to show you something about the frequency setup on this particular VTX. Now, there's 2 different modes on here for the frequency setup. There's lock and unlock mode. Right now you see this red light flashing. That means it's in lock mode, so my frequencies are limited. If you want to unlock that, press and hold this button for 10 seconds and it'll go solid red. And once that goes solid red, you'll have all 48 channels available. So I'm just going to keep holding it there, and you see it went solid red. Now the blue LED on the other side there, that's for the channel that you're on. If you short press right there, it's going to scroll through all 8 channels on that band. So you see it change there. Now if you hold press and long press for a few seconds, you'll be able to change the band that you're on. So for each long press, the LED lights it'll move over. The red light will move over as you change bands. So pretty cool, each long press. Okay, you see it move over to the next one, and so on. So I think it's nice that Runcam offers this now, because a lot of us have been using third-party external VTXs for this particular camera, and it's nice that Runcam finally offers something directly from them, because this plugs directly into the cable harness on your Runcam Swift version 2, Micro Swift version 2, so you don't have to do any extra soldering on this little VTX to get it running. So that's a pretty nice offering from Runcam. But enough about the VTX and the camera itself. Let's go outside, and the proof is going to be in the camera footage. So let's go see what the camera footage looks like on my little Leader 120. We'll see you out in the field.